to our Friday afternoon broadcast. You are joining us on the IF Keto Family Life Facebook page. This is the page where Michael and I discuss what it is we're doing with our nutritional lifestyle and how we are incorporating that into our marriage, how Michael has been adapting to what I have chosen to use in my everyday lifestyle to help me look and feel my best, and how we are incorporating that in our house overall, and some things that we are doing with our family. Today, we are going to talk specifically about the food industry and 3 reasons why we feel like the food industry does not want us to fast. If you are new, welcome. We appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you take a second to hit that like button. And if you're catching this on the rebroadcast, either here on our Facebook page or you're catching the rebroadcast over on my YouTube channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified when we upload new content to our YouTube channel as well. And as always, we ask that you please take a second to comment in the comment section so that we know that you are here with us. This is the best way for us to interact with you on a 2-way sort of communication street and be able to answer some questions that you have. And then always make sure that in the comment section, you put the word notes in there. And then that way you will be on our list where we can email you any kind of notes or handouts that we have that go with the talk that we have.
Easy for you to say.
I know, on our Facebook page. So today we're going to discuss those 3 topics why we feel like the food industry doesn't want us to fast. And Michael's going to kick it off with reason number 1.
Reason number 1 is the food industry, they purposely make you addicted to the foods that they put on the market, whether it be stuff you buy at the grocery store or foods that that you eat. What am I saying?
Snack-wise.
Snack-wise. I mean, but they get you addicted. Fast food. I was thinking of fast food. I mean, if you think about it, have you ever had, I don't want to say the name of the restaurant, make it suit. Have you ever been at a fast food restaurant and you're eating French fries? Now think about this. You could eat those nonstop, right? And you could just keep eating them until you're just overfull. Now, think about this. Why is it you can have a full bowl of delicious the best red apples you've ever had in your life. How many of those can you eat? One. If you can finish that one, and it's not that it's not good or delicious, but your body knows when it's had enough. So, I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there that they're adding stuff in the foods to make you addicted to it.
Mostly sugar and salt.
Yeah, and we're not going to bore you with all the stats, but the proof is out there that it's happening, and and they're getting us addicted.
Well, and another big reason we talk a lot about this in the intermittent fasting world that I share with a lot of women, in the fact that our hunger hormones are connected to the feeling of being satisfied with nutrients. And oftentimes, a lot of the food, especially if you're reaching toward processed foods, or maybe you're eating out a lot at restaurants in the fast food type of industry, if it's pre-prepared or pre-packaged, then generally they are full of fillers and oftentimes lots of sugar additives. So we all have felt that sugar addiction. Just try to kick sugar and you'll know what sugar addiction is like. It doesn't feel good. So we need to always fill up that feeling or that need to have that sugar in our body so that we constantly feel good. It's one of the most overused drugs that we have in our society. So filling foods with sugar, also filling them with a bunch of processed things, means that they're not nutrient dense. Our body sends us feelings and sensations of being satisfied when we eat nutrient-dense food. So like Michael's example was eating an apple, or even carrots, let's say, or celery, or some spinach, or kale, or something that's going to be nutrient-dense. You can only eat so much of it, and then you feel satisfied because your body knows what nutrients your own personal body needs. So you can't really overeat nutrient-dense foods, but you can definitely overeat foods that are not nutrient dense. And that's because your body's own hormones aren't going to get the signal that they're satisfied because your body's not satisfied when you're not getting your nutrients. So if you are relying on high processed foods or fast foods or foods that are prepackaged or pre-prepared, and you're feeling like you're not reaching your goals or you can't kick bad habits, it's not your fault. You are addicted. And what you really want to do is try to get through those tough days of breaking an addiction and really reach for some more nutrient dense foods. And then you'll start to feel that satiated feeling. And that's because your hunger hormones are going to be back on track and letting you know that you're getting everything you need.
Yeah. And there's something we always say in our house, an open bag of chips is an empty bag of chips. So, I mean, we have to portion out our chips because you start eating chips. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, that bag is empty and you're looking for another bag to open. Same thing with like a bag of popcorn or whatever. You just can't get enough of it, you know? But if it's nutrient dense, I mean, pay attention to that. You'll stop eating at some point. Even if it's something really good like strawberries or even a banana or something, it's just so much that you're overloaded, right?
Yep. Exactly. So the first reason that the food industry doesn't want us to start practicing something like intermittent fasting is because they want us to stay addicted to their food. So we're constantly feeding that need or that desire to want more. And then the second reason is that the longer you practice something like intermittent fasting or even a keto-like lifestyle, you're just improving the nutrient density of your food, the less food that you need to consume overall. Again, let's go back to those hunger hormones. Your body is intelligent enough to let you know when you've had enough to eat. If you are eating nutrient-dense foods and you are spending a majority of your 24-hour day in a clean fasted state, or let's say maybe you're incorporating some exercise and some fitness and you're even practicing a little bit of dirty fasting, you're just not needing as much quantity of food as you used to when you were eating every 2 hours, 6 or 7 times a day. So the quantity of food that your body actually requires to get through a 24-hour day is so much less. And I think that was one of the big aha moments that we had, not just Michael and I, but in our family overall, in cutting down even the snacky foods that, you know, as parents, you justify buying a lot of filler foods because your kids need it. And the reality is your kids really don't need it. They're fine eating squared off meals like we are and not eating as much of that filler food and really breaking off a lot of those addictions or cravings that they've had as well. So the biggest aha moment we had was the reduction in the amount of money we were spending on just frivolous filler foods. And knowing that we had a very short window to feasting in nutrient-dense foods, we were eating a lot less even during our feast because our body was just becoming more satisfied a lot quicker, and we tend to stop overeating when we feel satisfied. So that second reason is that you just don't need as much food as the food industry wants to lead you to believe that you need.
Yeah, and when you're a sugar burner and you're eating a lot of sugar and your body is dependent on using that for fuel, then once you eat some sugar, man, you're hungry like 20 minutes, half hour later, you're ready to eat again.
Right, yeah.
Whereas when you're eating nutrient-dense foods and foods that are higher in fats, you're going to feel more satisfied and you're not going to do that.
Well, not only that, but we know in this, what we've been practicing long enough, that when your body's feeding off your own pantry, so you're eating off of your own stored calories and your own stored fat, that is essentially caloric intake. So you don't need to consume as much fresh calories or new calories when you're really efficient at burning your own fat as an energy source, because you have tapped resources of calories that you've been storing away that your body will tap into and use as your caloric intake. So, and we go over all that when we teach our course, but it's a really cool concept to understand that calories that you need to keep your metabolic burn rate up at the level that you want to have to keep your body churning can really come from the stored calories that you've been packing on over the years when you get your body into that point of fat adaptation. So Michael, what's the third point that we've come up with about the food industry and why?
You are being marketed to overeat because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So you're being marketed to overeat. You know, and if you think about it, I mean, how many times have you gotten in the car and you listen to your favorite radio DJ and they have some tip of the day? Today, your health tip is that there's a new study out that if you drink more wine, it's healthy for, these ridiculous studies, And that's all money driven. Like somebody's driving, putting a lot of money behind that study saying that if you drink wine, it's healthy for you. Well, yeah, what's in the wine, the grape skins, is healthy for you, but you would have to eat a huge quantity of you have to drink a huge quantity of wine to get the amount of grape skins that you need to get the right amount of polyphenols. That it's just ridiculous.
Or chocolate's going to keep you from having a heart attack, or blueberries are going to keep you from having cancer. You know how many blueberries you have to eat to not get cancer?
And do you know how bad I want to believe? I want to believe it so much that it's true that, if we drink wine or if we drink dark beer, because I'm a beer drinker, I want to believe it so bad, but it's just not true. So when you're turning on the radio or you're watching TV and they're talking about some new study, you have to go look at who's behind that study, because a lot of times it's just a money driven thing and somebody's backing that. So you'll go out, and if you pay attention, you'll see that you'll have one day they'll say one thing, and then you'll go scratch your head and go, "What? I thought they said that this was good. Oh, now they're saying this is bad." And it keeps jumping back and forth. And what we notice in our community, what people are doing is they'll jump at the next best thing that, the next thing they hear. Well, so Sally down the street said that blah, 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 or, on the radio, I heard this morning that if you drink, a gallon of red wine, that you'll be really, and people just follow.
It'll help you burn fat.
Yeah. And people just follow these things that are ridiculous. And you really have to find out, and something that we've been teaching is you have to find out what works for you, what works for your body, and stop jumping to these new schemes and, the things that people are coming up with. I mean, we've done and heard of every kind of diet out there, and, and then people are waiting for the next diet to come out, or, what's the next thing that's going to work? And of course you probably can get results doing anything out there, but in the long run, how healthy is it for you? So you have to really examine that.
Yeah. And be careful of those subliminal messages that are always sent our way as well. So Michael, we really want to make this platform here on this page for the men in the community, and a way for them to kind of tap in and get some advice on what to do to start intermittent fasting and change some things that they're doing in their feasting window as well. So what would you say has been your number one takeaway or advice that you can give either a woman watching who wants her husband to start, or a man who's checking in and wants some advice on how to really kind of change your mindset about food in general and what's been marketed to you?
Well, I think first changing the mindset is you have to actually give intermittent fasting a try first and find out. I mean, for me as a man, I wanted to do it based on the science behind it and what I was hearing about the science behind it. And then but I didn't really think that I could do it because I'm a guy that likes to eat, and I was afraid of the fact that I would be hungry. I didn't want to leave the house with no food and be fasting for this long period of time. For me, I felt like mentally I'm going to run out of energy. And what I learned was that I'm not going to run out of energy. I'm not going to die. And what recently, like what I've been learning this year is like even working out, I can do that fasted, and I have more energy than I did when I was bonking out when I was a sugar burner. So I think for me as a man, learning the science behind why this works and knowing that I can be flexible on my diet and what I eat. Like this is Friday night. This is the night of the Friday night spring break. Okay. Spring break is this week for us, this next week for us. And this is the Friday of spring break. We're probably going to have a beer and we're going to throw some stuff on the barbecue, and, Diana probably have a glass of wine, whatever. Yeah. And I feel okay. Like, I don't feel like, I need to deprive myself this weekend. Like some of the past things that we did, we would we can't have a weekend. I mean, our neighbors are inviting us over to have a glass of wine. We can't do that because we're on this strict diet that we can't do that. But now I feel more flexible than I've ever felt. I feel like my weight's at a point, it's better than, I mean, I'm better than my ideal weight right now. And I'm fasting and I'm flexible. So I think, to answer your question, it's not as hard as you think it would be. I think once you understand hunger hormones and ghrelin and all that stuff, and why you feel like you're going to die 2 hours after having your last meal. Well, it's real. You're really feeling those feelings, but you got to figure out why you're feeling those feelings and what your body's using for fuel. Well, I've changed what my body uses for fuel, so I no longer feel that same hunger that I used to feel. So I think that was the big hurdle for me, was trying to figure out the hunger part. Because no one likes to be hungry.
No. Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions, and then we'll jump off so you guys can get started on your Friday too. But okay, so I'm just gonna ask you questions. You can just answer yes or no. Do you or have you felt like you've been on a diet since you started intermittent fasting with me?
Maybe like the first couple days, like the first.
Because you were feeling the hunger.
Yeah, because I was feeling like, oh my gosh, like, like, this is cool for right now, but not forever.
Okay. And then when you got over that, the first couple of days of transitioning from being a sugar burner to a fat burner, since then, have you felt like you've been on a diet?
No, okay. Not at all.
Have you felt like there's any foods that are, in your man repertoire that you feel you're not allowed to eat?
I don't feel like there's any foods I'm not allowed to eat, but I know now, being healthier, like, I know what I shouldn't eat. And those are things, especially things with high yeast, because it bothers my feet. I can't have high yeast. Even beer has yeast, but I have to be careful what kind of beer I'm drinking. And I can't be having, gluten-filled bread, waffles, and things that are high in yeast, because it will definitely affect my feet. So I definitely have to watch. There's certain things that I no longer want. There's things I no longer want to eat, but there's nothing, like, I feel like that I have to throw off my menu. Like, well, I can't eat that anymore. We did that more in the past than we do now. Now I feel like, man, if I had some pizza tonight and, a beer, like, I wouldn't be afraid of doing that. Okay. And then do you feel, without going into too much detail, but how do you feel your workouts have been since you've become really fat adaptive? And we're experimenting these last couple of months. We've been experimenting with some new supplements to help with our workouts and fasting and all that. So just since we've done that, how do you feel your workouts have been? And do you feel like you're losing any kind of muscle or mass in your body at all? Nope. I feel like my workouts are better. They're stronger than they've ever been.
Are you working out more or less than you used to have to work out to maintain the same physique?
I'm not working out I'm actually working out less than what I used to work out, because I used to work out, I felt like I needed to be in the gym, a couple hours. Now, I might do a couple of sets of something after getting off the Peloton. I'm good. Cool. So I can put less work in and I'm getting the same result.
Awesome.
Or better result.
So you don't have to give up anything manly to intermittent fast and live this kind of lifestyle. We also had to kind of figure out what he needs to eat to maintain his nutrient density and how I need to eat to maintain my nutrient density. So we have even our own little differences between the two of us. We generally eat the same, but there's certain things that bother me a lot more than they bother him, and vice versa. So we just support each other through it, and we don't necessarily have to mimic what each other is doing. And we really do enjoy the time that we have fasted, because we have so much more time to do other things than just worry about constantly eating and cleaning up the kitchen and eating and cleaning up the kitchen. So it's been really nice as far as that goes as well. So we didn't want to keep you guys very long today, but we wanted to share with you the 3 things that really do kind of cross your mind. And I know it was crossing Michael's mind when he started thinking about intermittent fasting too, and the fear of hunger. And why that fear is real. It's not something you're imagining. It's a scary thing to feel hunger. I know us women, we've felt it too, and understanding what your hunger hormones are doing to you and for you eventually, and knowing why it is we are so addicted to certain types of foods. It's purposeful. It's a money-making machine in our society for us to constantly be craving foods and to feel like we absolutely have to have them or we're going to die. that is a very valid feeling that a lot of people feel. And for men, it's a very serious thing as well. Michael had to go to work, and he had used to have a very physical job, and he couldn't be weak. He couldn't be lightheaded. He couldn't not have the physical ability to get through his day. So he feared that losing that strength and that endurance in the beginning, and he got through it, started fasting at home before he started fasting on his work days, and now he's doing great. So the food industry is kind of playing games with us, but when you understand that and you make that connection, and then you start experimenting for yourself, then you can really realize that it doesn't matter if you're a man or you're a woman, or if you're young or if you're old, or if you're physically active or you have a sedentary type of lifestyle. You can benefit from this because it's all about the hormones and understanding the science.
And it's important what you said, that feeling that you have is very real. That feeling that you get like, I'm going to bonk out if I don't like get something to eat right now. Like, I'm going to pass out. That feeling is real, and because you're a sugar burner. But once you flip that switch, you no longer have that feeling anymore.
Okay, so let me see here. Kelly, how do I figure out my nutrient needs? Well, what we find is that we all know the common sense behind what nutrient-dense foods are, and we know what processed, filler, cheap foods are. And so what you have to do is just figure out what the common sense healthy foods are for you, and then start experimenting with them until you find kind of your go-tos. We have a staple of what we get at the grocery store every week now that are our go-tos, and then we sort of make foods around that. So you'll want to just kind of identify the foods that make you look and feel your best, and then those are going to be the foods that will best serve your personal body. Julian, I had a friend ask me why I'm starving myself and was surprised when I said I'm less hungry now than I ever was on Weight Watchers. Also had a cold, fasted for 16 hours today and felt great. Wish I could get my partner to do this. Jillian, just give it time for sure. People always come around when they start to see that you're sticking to something. Oftentimes as women, we jump on and we jump off and we jump on and we jump off. So just stay on, and then your partner will definitely jump on board with you. Sandy, my husband has never had a weight problem and seems to maintain his weight whatever he eats or drinks. Yeah, we don't like people like that. But I see that some health issues are creeping up, but he doesn't want to see that, and these are related to what he eats. How can I help him see this? Sandy, be the example. Be the example. And if you're the person who happens to buy the groceries and cook the food, just subtly start making some changes. And before you know it, he'll be eating healthier foods. And then when he starts feeling better, then he'll make the connection. The best advice, Michael, what would you say? Don't force someone?
Don't force someone, but also I think it's important for your husband that a lot of this stuff's age related. I mean, there was a time like, man, I could work out, eat, drink, do whatever I wanted to eat, whatever I wanted to eat, and I didn't have the same effects. But I think as you start to get older, it really kicks in, whether you don't even have to necessarily gain weight. I mean, there's plenty of people that have dropped from a heart attack because they eat a certain way and they don't live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I was the perfect example of that. I had put on about, I think it was like 15 pounds, but it wasn't until after I realized I was pre-diabetic, and maybe that was a psychological connection I made with myself. I don't know. But I was pre-diabetic and living the exemplary diet and fitness lifestyle. So just because you look a certain way on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy and processing things correctly on the inside. And like Michael said, age is a factor in that. So I would talk to him about that part of it, not so much punishment, or any kind of, or punishment's not the word, or what was I going to say? Sacrificing too much stuff. There's so many healthy options to food, you guys. We just filmed a video today that we're going to be sharing on the YouTube channel about some really great treats and breads that we found that are super healthy. So you oftentimes just have to break old habits and create new ones with healthier options. That's a great way to kind of head it off as well. Sandy from the UK. Let's see. Okay, cool. Diane, so happy you joined us. And Carol, always the first one to jump on. I love it, girlfriend. Okay, so.
Miss Diane.
No, I said hi, Diane.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to jump off. We have spring break this week. So remember, we will be back here on Friday. If you have topics that you want Michael and I to address, or maybe just Michael to address, definitely feel free to put those in the comment section or email me and let me know some concerns you might be having about how to start a conversation with your spouse or how to change some things in your family life. let us know. We are here to serve you and to help you guys jump into this community with us. We love it. The more couples that are fasting, the better that life is going to be for us as we start to age. I know Michael and I are loving the way we're feeling and how we're living our life together now. And I love the fact that he's eating gluten-free now, because it makes it a lot easier for me when we go out to eat. So it just does make life more fun. And we want to be healthy as we age together. And that's the big ultimate goal right there. So email us your questions, email us your suggestions, email us some stuff that you might want us to research for you, and we will present it for you here. And then if you are following me on my Facebook page, remember next week we will be broadcasting live Monday and Wednesday only, because we will be enjoying Tuesday and Thursday with our family on spring break. Have a good weekend, you guys.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.